After the tone, please state your name followed by the pound sign.
It used to be. And I'd like to read that as the future ain't what IT used to be, and nothing more could be appropriate for the times that we live in today. We are in a world where both the business and IT have been transformed, and they are continuing to face a series of new threats as well as new opportunities and are rapidly evolving to adapt to these. Cloud computing has become so ubiquitous in most conversations as far as IT transformation goes. But what exactly is it? And what kind of a reaction is it to the changing business environment that we see? Let's explore this as well as the EMC strategy to address these changes and what comes. One of the things to look at is what cloud isn't. And cloud isn't, in our opinion, about where it is. It's really about what it does. One could say that cloud is an operating model for IT. It's an emerging operating model for IT, which delivers outcomes which are much better aligned to modern business needs. Now, what outcomes are these, and what is this operating model? Well, to understand that, we need to understand what's really happening in the industry. We are starting from a stance where most IT is what we refer to as traditional IT, what we've been doing for close to 30 years amongst us. And this is really characterized not so much by technology, but by what behavior we've used so far. We tend to build the platform and buy the applications. So we acquire servers, network compute, acquire a data center, power cooling, and we build an infrastructure. And then we deploy applications on it, which we typically buy from software vendors. Usually these are focused on process automation, such as ERP systems or CRM systems. And so the SAPs, the Oracles of the world, ruled the rules for us for the longest time. And they were very, very effective in what they did. And they brought tremendous efficiencies to the business, but are no longer the kind of competitive differentiation that most businesses need. So we see that this is really transforming into a world which we loosely described as Bi Modal IT, the Gartner term. And Bi Modal is characterized by a difference in behavior from traditional IT. And here we buy the platform and we build the application. Now we may choose to consume the platform as well from a service provider, such as an infrastructure as a service offering, or we may consume applications as well from a software as a service vendor. But regardless, this flip is taking place across the board, and it's interesting to understand why this is happening to really get perspective on what cloud computing really means and how we respond to that. We see this as centered around the emergence of two distinct cultures in IT. One is a more traditional, if you will, IT service management-based model. And here's where change management, release management, problem and incident management, and capacity planning, disciplines like that are key. This is also based on a hardware stack, storage, network, compute, often abstracted with a hypervisor such as VMware or Hyper-V or KVM, with a management and orchestration stack such as the Realize Suite from VMware or OpenStack, exposed through a service portal such as ServiceNow or Service Mesh. In contrast, the other culture, the DevOps culture, is based much, much more on rapid development of applications using agile methodologies or extreme methodologies. The delivery platform is more geared towards mobile platforms rather than more traditional platforms. And then the method of delivery and scaling tends to be more towards platform as a service rather than actually building 2 or 3 tier client-server applications by hand. And the overall life cycle of managing the application from idea to outcome is really done as an integrated process in this DevOps culture. A lot of these applications are very focused on the data because monetization of the data is starting to emerge as the next big thing as far as the next advances as far as from the business standpoint. This, of course, also has its own hardware stack with storage, network, or compute, but it differs fundamentally from the kind of stack which you see in the ITSM world. Because you see, in the ITSM world, the applications were built relying on the infrastructure for resilience. So the storage, network, and compute hardware stacks were rich in data services and resiliency and reliance. In contrast, the applications written in the DevOps culture are really built with application resiliency at the application layer itself through architectural techniques such as microservices based on container technologies rather than virtual machine technologies. These kind of architectures and applications will run without that much resilience in the infrastructure stack. And therefore, a commodity stack with compute, network, and direct attached storage is sufficient to be able to run these. So what is the outcome that we're really looking for over here from a cloud perspective that needs to transform these two worlds over here? The common operating model that exposes these, IT as a service, is what interacts with the business. And businesses do not really care where this is resident. They care about what it does for them. As we talked about earlier, a cloud isn't about what it is, it's about what it does. So what is it that the business requires this kind of infrastructure to do? So the key thing to note is in the ITSM world, it is our fiduciary responsibility to make it effective and efficient. Effective to us means much more agility in the infrastructure stack, which means we have to get out of the plumbing business of piecing together storage, network, and compute. We have to have far more automation and orchestration in the stack to make sure that the entire IT setup acts as one and is able to interact with as much agility as possible. And the efficiency, of course, means that we want to do this with as little cost as possible. In fact, hopefully, in an ever-reducing cost trajectory, so we're able to derive maximal benefits and pass that back to the business. Now, at EMC, we do this in several ways. The first is we radically transform the infrastructure itself. One of the things we are focused on is to rapidly adopt and mainstream flash technologies for all our storage platforms. What this lets us do is to bring extremely high and reliable performance with a very acceptable economic form factor to be able to run this. The next thing we've done is to start to move and actually converge the infrastructure stack as well. Now you've seen the success for VCE and the vBlock offerings that we've had out in the market for several years now. We're extending that now with hyperconverged offerings such as VxRail or VxRack, which is a rack scale hyperconverged infrastructure, which is based on compute servers, a simple Ethernet network, and direct attached storage, thus rapidly simplifying the infrastructure stack as well as its management. Now, why stop there? Why not extend the simplification even more to drive even more efficiencies and effectiveness? What if we then were to go forth and combine the orchestration stacks as well? And this is a set of technologies we bring from VMware. And now we can start to deliver a fully engineered stack to be able to do IT as a service in what we call the hybrid cloud. Now, on the other side, we see that the outcomes that we're looking for from that side is really more focused upon data and getting actionable insight from the data. This means the ability to not just rapidly develop applications and deploy and scale them, but also to be able to look at the information that we get and to be able to convert those to analytic insights. So we enable mobile development frameworks, analytics frameworks, as well as location independence with platform as a service offerings such as Cloud Foundry, which allow us to adopt the economies that come with this and to be able to deliver that as a service to the business. Now, the hardware stack that comes with it, as I've mentioned earlier, is much simpler. So hyperconverged offerings are perfect for something like this. as well as for the newer scale-out architectures such as Hadoop or Cassandra or Mongo, which we have in the environment, along with in-memory event processing frameworks that we have as well. So we believe that both these are fundamentally cloud transformations because we focus on the outcomes rather than where they're actually delivered. In fact, we believe that moving forward, really the job of IT is to match the dynamic demand from the business with an elastic supply. Now, the elasticity in the supply is something we believe can be achieved by extending the existing operating model to include other sources for infrastructure and being a broker for these kind of services. So why might one want to really do that? In the ITSM world, if a particular application is not really delivering business competitive advantage compared to the competition in that sector, such as, for example, email messaging or Salesforce automation, you'll see a lot of those kind of applications have already disappeared from the enterprise. They are now running in SaaS clouds, such as Office 365 or Salesforce.com. We believe that this can be extended quite a bit further by allowing the operating model to also extend into offerings such as our Virtustream, which is a 5 nines mission critical cloud. And we have customers running SAP today who are moving to operate SAP at Virtustream instead of inside their own IT infrastructures. vCloud Air is another such offering, and certainly there are a variety of other SaaS offerings as well. And all of this makes IT, the ITSM world, far more efficient and effective while retaining the operating characteristics that are needed for these mission-critical applications. On the other side, we feel that the data to actionable insight is also something that can be brokered and extended. And that there again, using either a combination of Pivotal Web Services or Amazon Web Services, Google, or Virtustream. Allowing for cloud independence using Cloud Foundry, we think, is absolutely key to be meeting this demand. So when we put all this together, this is when we start to see that regardless of what the location is, both these offer a set of services to the business, which business needs to be able to advance their agenda forward. And it's a common operating model that really ties this. The EMC services arm, consulting, is very adept at not just taking care of the technological aspects, but also the people, process, and organization issues connected with transition into this bimodal world. So I will leave you with another quote from Yogi Berra. And really it is, if you come to a bimodal fork on the road, take it. Thank you.